The Alberta election is just around the corner on May the 29th. Many are viewing this election as kind of a two-horse race between the UCP and the NDP. We shall see where the UCP stands on a wide range of issues. Nathan Neudorf is the UCP candidate for Lethbridge-East, and he's also our province's infrastructure minister and deputy premier. Nathan, welcome back to Bridge City News.
Great to be here, Hal. Thanks for having me.
Now, Nathan, the latest polls have the UCP and NDP running neck and neck. There are also around 20% of voters who are undecided. What do you think it'll take to sway over more votes to your party?
Well, we've got more work to do for sure, and we just need to get the truth out there of what we're actually doing and how we're actually moving Alberta forward. There's a lot of misinformation and even some lies out there. We need to make sure that we get the truth out with what we've done for Alberta, what we've done in this latest budget, paying down debt, investing in the Heritage Savings Trust Fund, increasing spending, but within reasonable limits, and tabling a surplus. We've done some really great things, and I don't know if all Albertans are yet aware of that. That's what we've got to do.
Now, the last time we chatted, you said we should be receiving around 17 doctors here in Lethbridge by the end of the year. 6 apparently have already set up shop here, setting up practice. Can we expect even more as our city's facing quite the physician shortage here?
Absolutely. AHS has been working very hard in Lethbridge. And the last report I had from them is that they've actually hired 20 doctors, with 5 additional on top of that, having agreed to talk about the positions that are open here. And 16 have actively started working in Lethbridge as of the month of April. We're still working with them to make sure that we can connect patients who are looking for a doctor with those doctors. But I do appreciate the intensity and the time and effort AHS has done to try to get those doctors here. And we're looking forward to more in the days and weeks ahead.
Nathan, what about some of the specialists such as OBGYNs and heart doctors? Are they coming our way as well?
Those are also very critical needs here in Lethbridge, and AHS is working hard to get those shifts covered by locums. We had one OBGYN have a health issue that's taken her out of the rotation for some time, and 2 actually on mat leave themselves. So AHS is covered with locums, but many people are still having to travel to other areas to get some of the care that they need. Those positions are posted as well, and AHS is leading the charge. Hopefully we'll see success there, just like we've seen with family doctors and those 2 on maternity leave coming back in the months ahead. It is a demand that we've got to address. There is resources there for AHS to use. We've dedicated that, and now we just need to find the people. But this is actually a global challenge around the world, whether they are cardiologists or OBGYNs or anesthesiologists. There's a wide demand around the world for these specialized services.
Let's talk about the new cardiac catheterization lab in Lethbridge that will help bring more screenings and procedures closer to Southern Alberta residents. How critical was this to finally get a cath lab here in southwestern Alberta?
I think it's an excellent first step. As I've been talking with healthcare professionals, I do need people to understand that it is only a first step, because until we can get to the level where we can offer cardiac surgeries here in Lethbridge, early identification and intervention is excellent. It is life-saving. It's so important. But the next step will be some of those surgeries happening right here in Lethbridge as well, because now you still have to go to Calgary or other places for those surgical capacities. But again, you've got to walk before you can run, and this is an excellent step in the right direction. And the more of these type of services we are able to provide here at Chinook Regional Hospital, that also helps attract and retain doctors in all of those specialties we just talked about. They want to be able to serve their patients well. They need the backup support services in our hospital to do that full evaluation and care for their patients. Those things also go hand in hand.
You know, Nathan, the opioid crisis continues in our city. The city of Lethbridge is preparing for more tent encampments to deal with the homeless issue as well. A number of officials say the drug crisis, crime issue, and homeless problem simply go hand in hand. What is the province doing to work with the city in addressing some of these serious concerns?
Well, we've invested tens of millions of dollars into Lethbridge because we've had such a large challenge with this. We're very excited. Just last week, we announced the completion of construction and the handing over of the treatment center just outside of the city limits in Lethbridge to begin that long-term treatment and recovery. We've invested in operational funding. We've invested in supportive housing. We've invested in our justice and mental health aspect of the services provided there. We are just investing every way possible to help the continuum of care and getting people off of the addiction cycle and into treatment. We're looking forward to the construction of a huge treatment center on our First Nations Blood Tribe Reserve later this year. And with those added beds and capacity, we are hoping to take a huge number of our homeless and mental health and addicted population into care to get them into the life that they actually would like to have for themselves.
There's also talk about a controversial drug treatment program where addicts are actually forced into rehab. Can you explain how that would potentially work?
Certainly, and this is just at the concept stage. There's nothing written down. There's no legislation proposed. It is a concept that has been brought into bear in other places, and it's specifically meant to address those individuals who get into very violent behavior after consuming some sort of narcotic. They're violent to others, they're violent to themselves, and we feel it's the government's responsibility to protect our citizens. So what do you do with someone who is extremely violent and a danger to those around them and potentially themselves? And that's what we're contemplating, is that point of intervention, saying, if you have lost the ability to regulate yourself and you're at significant danger to the public, we believe there's an obligation to intervene. How far that intervention goes, whether that ends up with them being put into care to help them get off of that addiction, is what we're discussing at this point, and we'll see what Albertans and experts have to say on the issue. But that's the discussion at this time.
You know, many mayors in our province are wanting to see the return of local EMS dispatch, including Lethbridge Mayor Blaine Hagan. Will that be coming anytime soon?
Well, this is part of that whole conversation that I've been working on for 4 years, is recognizing the Chinook Health region, the Chinook Regional Hospital, as a hub, and what services should it provide. Right now, I forget the exact level, whether we're a tier 3 or tier 4, and the next level up would be a tier 2. Though it depends on those capacities and availabilities in the hospital, which include some of those cardiac and thoracic surgeries and so on and so forth. If we can be recognized as that center, that hub for the South, and the care capabilities possible here, then I absolutely support EMS dispatch being brought here to service this hub. We service a huge population in Southern Alberta, reaching into Southeastern BC and Southwestern Saskatchewan. I believe that investment needs to be made so that we can serve the people of this region more appropriately. And then that dispatch piece really works with that integrated model to provide those services that we need.
Yeah, I know a lot of mayors have concerned about the ambulance times and the delays getting to certain homes, you know, when people are in distress. So it's a real issue here. Nathan, Party Leader Daniel Smith says if the UCP is reelected, there won't be any tax hikes. And now there's also talk about tax breaks for Albertans, especially with all of the oil and gas revenues coming in. Can you talk a bit about that?
Absolutely. That's one of our key platform commitments, is that those who earn up to $60,000 will be in a new tax bracket of only 8%. So every Albertan who earns less than $60,000 will receive a 20% reduction in the provincial income tax. And every Albertan who earns over $60,000 will save at least $760 per year in their provincial taxing. So a real tax break, helping people on both sides of that threshold, whether they earn less or earn more, they'll really see a benefit of keeping more dollars in their pocket. So we're really excited about that commitment and look forward to being able to make a reality for people in Alberta.
The Trudeau Liberals are firm believers in green technology and green energy. There doesn't appear to be a lot of support for Alberta's oil and gas sector. Is there any way to help change Ottawa's mindset, the Trudeau Liberals, perhaps through more carbon capture? What are your thoughts?
Well, we continue to work with them, and we work with industry. Industry actually in Alberta has what's called a Pathways to Net Zero Alliance. And this is a group of energy producers who want to continue to get to zero emissions and that net zero target. They just want to do it with a government that's cooperating with them, with setting realistic and achievable goals, not just ideologically driven ones. How do we actually get there in practical dollars and cents? How do we actually get there with real proven technology and what works? So we want to work with them in cooperation with industry for carbon capture, storage, and utilization, as well as leading the way on hydrogen and its potential as green energy. There's some great proposals before the government of Alberta right now to have a hydrogen community just outside of Edmonton, as well as CP Rail has the first hydrogen locomotive working. And we're talking about some major hydrogen hubs up north in northern Alberta. Huge investments by the private industry, the energy industry to lead the way, not just in Alberta, but globally. And we're really excited to work with them.
Now, the carbon tax went up again in April. You talked to a lot of Albertans, including many business owners, Nathan. What kind of an impact is this having? And is the carbon tax actually helping to curtail emissions?
It's having massive impact, and unfortunately, it's not. We live in a cold northern climate. We just came through winter. Just a few weeks ago, we still had snow, and many people had their furnaces turned up. That's the part of the world we live in, and that's why we think a carbon tax is so punitive. In fact, I've even heard from school divisions that are really struggling with that carbon tax increase because they have large buildings as schools, and they have large fleets of buses that are feeling that hit. And it's very, very punitive to them. And that's why we can, as a government, as a United Conservative government, continue to stand up against the NDP and Liberal Alliance in Ottawa, because it's pushing these increases. Schools can't shut down, buses can't stop operating, and we want them to see the reality of living in a northern climate and find a better way to achieve some of these goals and having a greener economy.
The Agrifood Hub and Trade Centre is nearing completion. I drive by it quite a bit and I see all the work that's gone into it here. Now let's talk about how much that facility really means to producers and the entire agriculture sector here in Southern Alberta.
I think it's going to be the pride and joy of Southern Alberta, to be perfectly honest. We are an agricultural-based economy and a community. To be able to have a jewel in our crown here in Southern Alberta, that we can go and celebrate that we can showcase that we can continue to develop that, and work in collaboration with the college, the university, our airport development is really important. We should celebrate that we feed the world, and this will help us to do that. And it's going to actually attract even further investment as we continue to develop our Highway 3 twinning, our irrigation abilities. A lot of our private producers are planning expansions or in the midst of expansions. Our agri-food tax credit has also fed into this real excitement globally that we're an agricultural leader, and having this building be the center of that, to develop that, to showcase that, to invite the world to participate in that is really exciting. And I look forward to its opening later this year.
Now, Nathan, your leader, Daniel Smith, has talked about creating an Alberta pension plan and a provincial police force. Where do you stand on those issues?
Well, right now we don't have a plan, and what I stand for on the pension plan is making sure that Albertans have all the information, all the data, so that they can make an informed decision. I truly want to represent Lethbridge and Lethbridge-East. I want to make sure that Albertans have all the information before them when they make a decision. I think that they deserve that. They deserve to know where the finances of the CPP and the country are at, and where the finances of the province are at, and then let them choose in referendum. So that's that issue. I really want them to have that information. The provincial police force or service is a little bit different, that we as the government of Alberta want to make sure there's boots on the ground. We want to make sure that the people in Alberta have good service in their police services. And right now we're feeling they're being underserved, not by the individuals on the front lines, but by administration and the federal government, as well as the fact that the federal government has sent out indications that they're looking to get out of contract policing, which is why 4 other provinces, as well as Alberta, are looking at the idea of a provincial police service. Again, we want to proceed slowly. We want to proceed with our municipalities. We understand that there's costs incurred here. We have to do that with cooperation with our municipalities. And this one will take some time as we work through the details and we actually find out what the true intent of the federal government is in this. But the bottom line is we believe Albertans and Albertan citizens need good service from their police services. And how do we best achieve that for them? How does that get paid for? And that will be a slightly different conversation, but an ongoing one that I look forward to having throughout the years ahead.
Nathan, a number of popular candidates and former ministers have decided not to seek re-election, including Travis Taves and Sonia Savage. Many say this is really going to hurt the party as we head into the election. How do you see it?
Well, I think there's definitely an element of natural turnover. We see that all the time. Both parties have many experienced members not returning for one reason or another, and new people coming in. And it is hard to lose experience for sure, but we have an amazing cast of new candidates and the experiences and backgrounds that they bring, a wide diversity of cultures, a wide diversity of experiences. I'm very proud to have brought my experience in the carpentry trade to the level of elected official. There aren't that many from the trades that often seek office. So I look forward to that. I look forward to being able to show Alberta the diversity and broad skill sets that we have and let Albertans choose.
Now, you and I have chatted in the past about the UCP being a safe place for social conservatives. Is that still the case, or has it evolved to become more progressive as a party?
It's absolutely a safe place for social conservatives. We have always strived to be a broad tent, a big tent party, and welcome in members from all across the range. We know that Alberta is very unique. We've got two metro centers in Calgary and Edmonton, and people are very proud of their communities. And we have a huge rural population as well, and they recognize the differences and varieties of that. So we will naturally have a broad range of perspectives. What I have always worked on is working in collaboration, focusing on the things that we do agree on and not focusing on the very small number of things that maybe we have differing views. That kind of cooperation, that kind of collaboration leads to a stable government that can serve many, many members and all members and citizens of Alberta really well. And I look forward to presenting that to Albertans in the upcoming election.
UCP Lethbridge-East candidate Nathan Neudorf, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks, Hal. Love being here.